Hey, what's up YouTube? Alex here, and in this video, I'm going to be running through Underdog Fantasy, and I'm specifically going to focus on Streaks. Streaks is a new game. It's pretty fun. Like, I'm not going to lie, it's a pretty fun game that Underdog Fantasy launched, and I've been using Underdog Fantasy for 3 years now. You know, I started using it in 2022. I made over $40,000. Same thing in 2023. This past year, unfortunately, very sad, they limited me to $25 per play that I lock in. So I made less money, last year in 2024, which is kind of stupid, but it's just part of the game. And in general, on Underdog Fantasy, they're always updating the app, stuff like that. But I usually play traditional Underdog Fantasy, 3-pick entries, 6-pick entries, stuff like that. But they have this new product called Streaks. So I figured, it would be interesting to do a video on Underdog Streaks and kind of go through it. So how does Underdog Fantasy Streaks work? Let's, start with the basics. So the way Underdog Streaks works is you're putting down $10 to win 10 grand. $10 to win 10 grand. Seems easy? Not so easy. What you have to do to turn $10 into $10,000 is win 11 picks in a row, right? All you got to do, turn 10 bucks into 10 grand, pretty fun, is win 11 picks in a row. And obviously that's not so easy, but basically the way that Streaks works is the first day, you got to put in 2 picks. So Streaks typically, like most users do it, over the course of 10 days. The first day, you got to put in 2 picks. Every other day, the last 9 days, you just need to put in 1 pick per day. That's all you're doing. You're adding 1 additional pick to your Underdog streak, and if you get to the end, you go 11 for 11. Then you're going to turn $10 into $10,000. If not, you're going to lose your $10. And I will mention that Underdog Fantasy, they offer cash outs on streaks. So let's say like you get to day 7 and, you say, hey, I don't want to do this streak anymore. You can still cash out for a profit if you want to. Although usually these cash outs, they're not so good. So I kind of went through some of the cash outs on Underdog Streaks for a few of the days because, I'm like 6 days into my streak. Most of them are pretty unprofitable, so I'm going to ride this till the end. And regardless, for the upcoming day, I included Tyler Hero over 6.5 assists. Actually had that the day before. It cashed. But the point of this video, aside from just kind of talking about Underdog, is I wanted to go through how I find these picks for streaks and also just the math behind Underdog Streaks. 11 picks in a row to turn $10 into $10,000. What does that mean? Is this super profitable? Is this super unprofitable, like slots? How should you be thinking about it? So that's what we're kind of going to go through in this video. So let's get into it. So Underdog Streaks, you're putting down 10 to win 10,000. You got to win 11 picks in a row. So if you kind of go through the math, what that means is Underdog Streaks is plus 99900 odds. You're putting down 10 to win a payout of $10,000, $9,990 in profit. So if you kind of go through the math, what that means is you need to have a win rate on Underdog Fantasy of 53.3%. That's your break-even win rate. So what does that mean, right? Let's say you're winning your picks exactly 53.3% of the time, and you play Underdog Fantasy Streaks until you die. You're just going to break even. You're going to break even, right? So if you can win your picks, let's say 60% of the time, which isn't easy to do, that means you have a real edge. Underdog sets these projections, these lines, and what their goal is it's 50% for a player to go over or under. They're banking on people winning 50%, losing 50% of their picks, right? They have no edge. No edge means you win 50%, you lose 50% of your picks. You have no edge. You're going to be unprofitable long-term playing Underdog Streaks. To win on Underdog Streaks, you got to win over 53.3% of your picks. So let's say you can win 60% of your picks. Your over-unders such as, Mikic over under 1.5 threes. If you can win your picks, your individual picks in your underdog streak 60% of the time, only losing 40%, pretty good, you're going to be profitable long-term playing streaks. So, that's not easy to do, to be clear. Like, a lot of people think, oh yeah, I'm smart enough to win 60% of my picks. It's pretty hard to do, right? Again, Underdog Fantasy is setting these lines, ideally, to be 50-50. That's the only time they're going to post a line, is when a player's roughly 50% to go over or under. You're not going to find lines like LeBron over 4.5 points where he's basically 100% to go over. Usually, these lines are close to 50-50, so you have to kind of find the diamonds in the rough, the plays on Underdog Fantasy where that player is actually more likely, to go over or under, and you actually think you have a win rate above 53.3%. So I'll include a spreadsheet in the description. And basically what this spreadsheet shows you is, given your win rate for your individual picks, 60%, 55%, whatever, what is your profit margin long-term playing underdog streaks? So I'll give you an example of a play that I locked in. I follow a very data-driven approach to my sports betting. I don't bet with my gut. I took Mikic over 1.5 threes a couple days ago in my underdog streak. It wasn't my last pick, but maybe like day number 5 or something. And I took a screenshot of why I took this pick. Is basically, if you look at DraftKings, right? Like, if you compare the lines on underdog streaks, underdog streaks is -114 odds. But I was actually looking for an underdog 6-pick entry, so it says -116. But regardless, Underdog Fantasy Streaks, a 53.3% implied win rate, means -114 juice. They're essentially charging you -114 juice on any over-under on the board on Underdog Fantasy for streaks that you can go with. You're basically getting -114 juice on either the over or the under. Again, on Underdog Streaks, it's quite simply win 11 picks in a row to turn $10 into 10,000. It doesn't matter if you take a player to go over or under, right? You can take their over or under. It doesn't matter. You're getting the same payout regardless, $10 to win 10,000. So basically, the first strategy you want to use is comparing the lines on Underdog to sportsbooks. So for example, I took Mikic over 1.5 threes. You can see here, DraftKings had Mikic's over favored. They had him as a -130 favorite to go over 1.5 threes. So I'm looking at DraftKings. Even if you don't use DraftKings, you don't bet on DraftKings. DraftKings is a $20 billion company. They're experts in setting lines. DraftKings is a market maker, and they're telling you through their odds that, hey, Mikic is a lot more likely to go over as opposed to under. If you look at Sleeper, Fliff, Hot Streak, Parlay Play, kind of all these variable payout sportsbooks, they all have Mikic's over juiced. They're telling you through their odds that, hey, Mikic is more likely to go over as opposed to under. So long story short, this pick, had a win rate above 53.3%, so I included it in my underdog streak. So I follow a super data-driven approach on regular Underdog Fantasy entries, 3-pick, 6-pick entries, whatever you go with. Underdog Fantasy, they give you a 6x payout on 3-pick entries. PrizePicks only gives you 5x. So you do want to be cognizant of which type of slip you're going with, because, on PrizePicks, on Underdog, sometimes they have different payouts depending on how many picks you include. So it's kind of important to understand what type of slip is optimal. But long story short, Underdog Fantasy Streaks, it's actually pretty beatable. Obviously, winning 11 picks in a row is hard, but you're putting down $10 to win 10,000. So if you follow a data-driven approach, it's actually pretty easy and you'll be profitable long term. So in this case, Mikic is over. All the books had his over, heavily favored. So that's the play I included in my streak. It ended up cashing. And again, I'll give you a full demo on just kind of how to use OddsJam, this play on Mikic, was from the OddsJam, positive EV tool. So I'll show you how I use OddsJam to find sharp picks on Underdog Fantasy. So here you can see my underdog streak. I'm currently 6 picks in, so I only got 5 left to turn $10 into $10,000. And kind of funny, but I actually found value on Tyler Hero once again. So you can only add 1 pick per day, right? Underdog streaks, the first day you throw in 2 picks. For the next 10 days, you're only adding in 1 pick per day. So it's not like I can add another pick to my streak already. I have to wait for, Tyler Hero over 6.5 assists to settle. But long story short, I kind of wanted to show you how I find my underdog plays. So I already included a pick in my streak, but the same concept applies for, playing regular underdog fantasy 3-pick entries, or the optimal slip type is 6-pick entries. But I kind of wanted to break down, my betting process. I follow a super, super data-driven approach. I want to make sure all my picks have the best possible value, unsurprisingly. So what I kind of wanted to do is just go through an example of how I find my underdog plays. So let's actually just build a slip. You can see they have a promo on the Chiefs game, but what I'm going to do is all of these picks, you can see the Underdog Fantasy logo right here. All these picks would be profitable in a streak, right? Streaks is actually a little bit better in terms of the implied odds because you're getting -114, not -116. So currently I have underdog 6-pick entries. That's what I have selected. That's the best type of slip on Underdog Fantasy if you kind of go through the math behind their payouts. But anyways, let's kind of get into building an underdog slip. So we're going to start out with Donovan Mitchell. Right, I'm going to try to build a 6-pick entry. This would be an amazing play for your underdog streak. Underdog Fantasy has tens and tens of thousands of lines available at any given time. Like, if you look at whatever, let's go here. I mean, if you look at NHL, NBA, like there's literally limitless things you can bet on any given day. So the key is just kind of zoning in on the plays that actually have value, actually have an edge. So again, Donovan Mitchell, this is the first play I'm going with. Under 5.5 assists, I'm going to build a 6-pick flex play that is profitable. So on Underdog Fantasy, right, we take Mitchell over, under, you get the same payout. Any 6-pick flex play, you're getting the same payout. So you look at all these sports books, every sports book is a data point, Sleeper, Fliff, Bet Online, FanDuel. Some books are sharper, smarter than others, but you can see they're all aligned. Like Bet Online has the under a bit more favored than FanDuel, but all these sports books, even if you don't use these sports books, they are data points. This is raw market data. FanDuel's a $40 billion company. You want to put some weight into their odds. All these books have D Mitches, under heavily favored. So that's a great play to go with. But what I want to do is finish this slip. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip this play, even though it has a really strong profit margin, a really strong edge. I'm going to skip this play on Jalen Duren. And the reason I'm going to do that is these picks are in the same game. So if Donovan Mitchell's passing the ball, let's say to Evan Mobley, and he doesn't score, Mobley doesn't score, well, that means Donovan Mitchell is going to lose an assist and Jalen Duren is going to get a rebound potential, right? He's going to have the opportunity to get a rebound. So I don't want to take Donovan Mitchell under an assist and pair that with Duren under in rebounds. Those plays have a little bit of negative correlation. They don't pair well together. This is only relevant when you're taking picks, in the same game. And it's actually the same thing with Cade Cunningham, right? I don't want to take under in rebounds for Pistons players and under in assists for, Cavs players in the same slip because these teams are playing each other. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over to Booker. And I'm going to run Booker under 38.5 PRAs. So I currently have 3 picks so far in my Underdog slip. For a 3-pick entry, Underdog actually gives you pretty good payouts. Not as good as their 6-pick flex play. The ideal slip type is a 6-pick flex play. You're getting, slightly better odds. But here's the 3 picks I have so far. 6x payout. PrizePicks only gives you 5x. And again, what you're going to notice is if I switch Mitchell to being an over, right, I'm still getting a 6x payout. So you take Mitchell over or under, you're going to get a 6x payout regardless. So again, just kind of to highlight the strategy for beating Underdog, and this applies to streaks, for making 6-pick flex plays, 3-pick power plays, whatever, is all of the sports books have the under as the massive favorite. So why on earth would we take Mitchell over, right? The under is the favorite outcome according to every data point we have in the market. Every sports book, everything is priced into the market, lineups, injuries, all that stuff. So I got 3 picks so far. But again, ideal slip type is a 6-pick flex play. So let's just kind of keep on rolling. And again, all of these picks would also be profitable in an Underdog streak. But of course, with an Underdog streak, we're only making 1 pick per day. So I'd probably just take Donovan Mitchell. I mean, following the data, he's the biggest favorite to go under. So that's the sharpest pick on Underdog Fantasy. But obviously, if I'm never going to tell you exactly what to bet. If you hate this play on Donovan Mitchell, you don't have to play this play on, Donovan Mitchell. But anyways, you can see there's a ton of value on Underdog Fantasy because they do offer pretty good payouts. So we got some more plays, but what I wanted to do, so like for example, I'm already taking Booker under in PRAs. It doesn't make sense to take Nick Richards, his teammate, under in PRAs. That would make, no sense whatsoever. Same thing with Tyus Jones under. Ideally, you can find plays that pair well together. So, or at least aren't negatively correlated. So for example, Keontae George under 2.5 threes. This will be the final pick. So this is going to be a 6-pick flex play, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All these plays would be profitable in a streak. But again, I already built my streak for tomorrow. I already paired in Tyler Hero. So what I'm going to do is switch this over to flex play. And I'm going to put $25 on it. And there you can see it. This is my 6-pick flex play. Every pick has an edge. Every pick based in data, right? An amazing Underdog slip. Like, I follow a very data-driven approach. I don't bet with my gut. Now, you may be thinking like, yo, Alex, why didn't you bet, whatever? Why didn't you bet, more money? Why did you only play it for $25? And basically, because I've been so profitable on Underdog Fantasy, you'll see that they limit me. If I try to put $500 like I did right here, they tell me, hey, you can only have $25 per slip. But long story short, this is kind of how I find my picks for Underdog streaks. Again, the first step to beating any of these sports books is you got to be finding value, right? So you want to compare the lines on Underdog Fantasy to sports books like FanDuel, BetOnline, Caesars. These are multi-billion-dollar companies. They're market makers. They're experts in setting lines. So this is kind of how I find my plays for Underdog streaks.